very disturbing. And our hope is that Somalia, inshallah, one day will be united and will have peace and tranquility. If you see the flag of Somalia, there are, how many stars? There are five stars. The founders of Somalia put those 5 stars for a reason. Their vision or their dream was that the Somalis in all different regions will be reunited and Greater Somalia will be established. So the 2 stars denote the Italian Somalia and the British Somalia. So the Somalia, as we know today, half of it was under British rule and the other half was under Italian rule. So those 2 stars denote to those 2 regions which were united and formed one Somalia. Their dream was that Djibouti, which is predominantly Somali with some Afars, one day will be liberated from France and will be part of Somalia, so that will make 3 stars. And their dream was also that the Somalis who are in Ethiopia would one day unite with the largest Somalia, so that's 4 stars, and the 5th star would be the Somalis who are in Kenya. But unfortunately what happened was the 2 stars started to disintegrate, and unfortunately Somalia is today a country that's suffering from huge instability and internal friction and feud, and we hope that one day it will be a united country living in peace and tranquility and prosperity. Another challenge facing the region is this endless simmering conflict. 20,000 young people were killed in a recent border fighting between Eritrea and Ethiopia. Somalia and Ethiopia has been a constant war and battle, tension with Djibouti. So there is a lot of tension in the region between the different countries, and unfortunately every time there is a conflict, many innocent people are killed in between. Another challenge is discrimination, particularly Muslims living in countries where Christians are in position of dominance. And this is true particularly in the case of Ethiopia. There might be some improvements today, but particularly in the time of the previous regime, the king, the Emperor Haile Selassie and others, Muslims were denied many of their basic rights as citizens. They make more than 35% of the population, but they had no representation whatsoever, and the government, Muslim holidays were not recognized. Now they are recognized, but at that time they were not recognized. So, and the discrimination was one of the biggest problems that Muslims in Ethiopia had. Things might have improved today, but there are still many issues when it comes to Muslims being on equal footing with the other citizens in the country. So this is a brief overview of the region. So we talked about the 4 main countries in the Horn of Africa: Ethiopia, next Somalia, Eritrea, and Djibouti. And then we talked about how Islam was introduced to the region the first time, and that was when a group of Muslims migrated from Mecca to Medina. And then we saw how Islam spread throughout the region over many centuries through migration, through trade, and through people of knowledge coming to make da'wah and to teach people and to spread Islam. And then we saw how various Muslim entities were established, Muslim sultanates, the largest of them being the Kingdom of Jabra, And then we spoke about the conflict that unfortunately was part of the history between the Christian highlanders and the Muslim lowlanders. And then we talked about the era of persecution and forced conversion, particularly to Muslims who were living in the highlands, and some of the challenges that the Horn of Africa is facing today. So, جزاكم الله خيرا for listening. قولوا قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين.
جزاكم الله خير Ismael Mukhtar. Anyone who have a question, you may ask. I hope everything is clear. Anybody have a question?
I wonder if can you expand a little bit about how Somalia was able to maintain its Islamic identity, where you have, because it had the same problems as Abyssinia, it had colonialism, it had all these other problems. Why is Somalia such a Muslim state? How did it proliferate there?
So the question is how Islam became...
Why Somalia is 100% Islamic, while the others are 50-50? Why they maintain?
Okay. Well, there could be various regions, but before Islam, Christianity was very well established in the highlands of Ethiopia. And Christianity was introduced to Ethiopia by a Syrian servant to the emperor at that time, Izana. So Christianity was deeply rooted in the highlands of Ethiopia, and there was greater resistance when it comes to accepting Islam in that region. The other areas were more open to Islam. Christianity is not known to have been spread in that region, and also the highlands are not easy to infiltrate potentially, but as I mentioned, there was a time where there was a Muslim kingdom in the center of Abyssinia in Shoa, but the conflict that happened later made things very difficult. But at the same time, even in the highlands today, there are many Muslims, there are many Oromos, there are people from other areas in Ethiopia who are Muslims. So when I say Muslims, they are not limited to the lowlands. In the lowlands, they are the majority, but in the highlands also, there are many Muslims today.
Any other question?
Very good presentation, mashallah. But I have a question. So Somalia, you told us that there is no central government there right now. But is it so since its independence, or this is the present situation that there is no central government running in the Somalia?
Somalia had a government. It became independent in 1960. It has parliament. It has an elected government. But then there was a coup, and that coup brought Siad Barre. And Siad Barre went through different phases, and he was basically he had very good friendship relationship with the Russians. But unfortunately, during Siad Barre's time, the policy of divide and rule was used, and that created internal division and internal friction. And once he was toppled, Somalia basically was disintegrated into various regions. In northern Somalia, there is a state today, but that state is not recognized. It's not recognized internationally. The southern part of Somalia is ruled by various warlords. There has been many